All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Segundo Brewing Company. They're out of El Segundo, California, and this is their Steve Austin's Broken Skull 316 IPA. So this is a West Coast IPA that comes in at 7.2% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, and this can is just under 6 weeks old, and I picked this one up at Halftime Beverage via halftimebeverage.com. So in the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that I grabbed, and I picked up 31 different beers, and I had to grab this one because if you follow the channel, you already know this, but if you're brand new to the channel, let's say you found this review because you're a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan or a wrestling fan in general, I am a lifelong wrestling fan. I've been watching wrestling since the mid-'80s, and I have already reviewed the other 3 beers from the Broken Skull lineup of beers. I think it was the IPA, the double IPA, and the lager, and I love trying them out, and Stone Cold, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, probably the same for many of you out there, so I had to grab this one. Now, full disclosure, I already had this one. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago. I went to my favorite local bottle shop of choice, Brewed and Bottled in Lewiston, New York, and Chris, the owner, had just gotten this in. It was actually a couple days after I placed the order from Halftime Beverage. I didn't know we would see it here in the Buffalo, New York area, so I was like, I have to grab this one from Halftime. Unfortunately for me, it showed up here locally a bit cheaper, and I would have been able to support local, but whatever. Chris cracked open a can of this while I was there. I had about 5 ounces of it, and it was different. It was a different West Coast IPA. It was more of a new school West Coast IPA, and I enjoyed it. Gave it 4 out of 5 on Untapped, but it was cool of him to do that, so I've already had this one. Now I get to sit down and drink it on a fresh palate and see what this one is all about. So they're using HBC 638 hops, Krush hops, and Citra hops. And to make this even a little bit longer, if you just want to get to the review, skip forward a little bit, they do have a quote here from Stone Cold. It says, "When the good folks at Perrault Farms and Yakima Chief Hops invited me up to sample their hops during their annual harvest, it inspired me to make a new IPA for you. The hops in this beer were selected by yours truly. I hope you enjoy this beer as much as I do. Cheers." So he actually picked out the hop selection in this one, which I think is fantastic. Also, while I cracked this open to give it a pour, for any of the wrestling fans out there, what did you think about recently John Cena turning heel for the first time in it's been over 20 years? I think it's awesome. I think it's an awesome storyline. I love to see it. People have been clamoring for John Cena to be a bad guy, so to speak, for many years, and I think he's going to kill it. I'm reviewing this shortly after he had his promo on Raw saying why he did it or the reason behind it, and I like that they're going kind of with the the fans don't deserve it and all that, and just not. He's just going to be a typical bad guy. There's going to be layers of complexity to the storyline, but, that's only for the wrestling nerds. Everyone else will be like, shut the fuck up. What does the beer look like? And then the wrestling fans will be like, shut the fuck up, drink it. Anyway, we're going to get out the contraband flashlight here. As you can see, it has great carbonation. It's just, they're streaming up slowly, but there's, actually a little bit faster than anticipated. But this has a beautiful, I'd say golden yellow color. The clarity is fantastic, as you get with IPAs that are West Coast or old school IPAs. The clarity is fantastic. Almost 2 fingers of a soap sudsy off-white colored head. Beautiful looking beer. I think it plays the role of what you're looking for out of a West Coast style IPA. Yeah, the nose in this one's different. It almost has like a, so the new school, so there's new school West Coast IPAs, there's old school West Coast IPAs. Stone Cold got into beer, more specifically craft beer, because he's been drinking beer forever. He got into, I think it was Torpedo IPA from Sierra Nevada, and that's an old school, a definite old school IPA, and it's a West Coast IPA. You get your citrus, you get your pine, it's very crisp and clean, bitter. The new school ones still have a nice crisp cleanness to it. They're bitter, they're dry, but they have more of like a candied or like sweeter kind of fruit character, and that's what this has. This has like candied berries, peach and apricot, but it still has that underlying like citrus, like a pithy like orange. There's a resinous kind of floral pine, little bit of dankness too. Underlying white bread. Yeah, it smells like a new school West Coast IPA. It smells really nice, and it actually smells a little bit different than when I had it at the aforementioned Chris's shop, where I want to say it was almost a month ago I was there. It was about 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks, and this beer was a couple weeks old at that point, like probably 2.5, 3 weeks old, and it was definitely fresh. It was intense, but it just had a different profile. I got like honeydew melon and things of that nature. This kind of smells similar to that, but a little bit different. Anyway, it smells really good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. The taste is definitely unique. What I like about this one is I do get a nice malt profile. It has this nice white bread graininess. You can tell it's not a huge double IPA, it's 7.2%. It has a nice pop of bitterness on the finish too. It's like moderately, a touch over moderately bitter, dry as well. Body on this one's like medium, a touch over, 7.2%. It's fine. The mouthfeel, it's crisp, it's clean, it's somewhat refreshing, very spritzy on the palate, has a good pop of carbonation. I'd say moderately to touch over moderately carbonated. So body, mouthfeel, real nice. The taste, again, first thing that hits me is the white bread. Dives underneath the palate, omnipresent, with you the entire way. A little bit of graininess, almost like a bready, almost like crackery, kind of like they probably use some kind of Pilsner malt in here, but it's very like crackery and white bread. Forefront, bittering citrus, orange grapefruit. Then it transitions into that peach and apricot. And then on the finish, I'm hit with a nice pop of like a blueberry, like a mixed berry, blueberry, raspberry, strawberry. Very subtle though. It's not like over the top, but it's there. Maybe even a little bit of like a honeydew melon rind. Finishes with a nice floral pininess, more floral than pine. I think I mentioned that in the nose, but it has more of a floral kind of feeling to it. It's slightly dank, and it's bone dry with a moderate to touch over moderately bitter kind of finish. This one leans more dry and bitter than sweet, which is nice and kind of what you want for the style. It's not, this is what I would say with this. If you are a wrestling fan that wants to try out a Stone Cold beer, start with his lager. Let's say you're somebody who just drinks, your Bud Lights and Coors Lights and Miller Lights of the world, and you're getting into craft beer. You want to try craft beer because Stone Cold is your favorite wrestler all the time. I want to try out his beers. Don't go to the IPAs. Do not. Go to the lager first. Then transition to his first IPA, which is just the Broken Skull IPA. That is the one I would try first because that's like a classic. Then hit this, then hit the double, I think in that order. Or maybe this or the original Broken Skull, but definitely start with his lager. That's more of a transitional beer from your macro lagers into a craft lager. You'll see the difference there, and then try something else like this. I think if you just try this out of nowhere, you might not enjoy it. It's very dry, it's very bitter, a lot of hop character, something that if you never had a craft beer might blow out your palate to the point where you're like, I hate it. Maybe not though. I do know people who tried an IPA for the first time and absolutely fell in love with them. So if you want to try it out, buy a single if you can. Do not buy an entire 4-pack. You probably wouldn't be happy with that, I don't think. But to each their own. I will say this is really nice. I like the original Broken Skull probably the most of the hop forward beers. I would go Broken Skull, then this, then the double IPA. Looking back, I think I gave the double IPA a high score, but I had it again after that and I wasn't enamored with it. I would go Broken Skull, OG Broken Skull. I think I would go with this. I would go the lager, and then the double IPA is probably lowest on the totem pole for me. The double IPA didn't hit me as well. They're all pretty good though. They really are. Yeah, so 7.2%, slight warming in the chest, nothing on the palate. If you're not used to drinking 7.2% beers, you probably feel it a little bit more. For me, I don't really feel it outside a little bit of a warming into the chest. Again, very dry, very bitter, lots of hop character, dare I say hop saturation. Not over the top though, like it's not super flavorful and over the top. I think this is a more mild, approachable beer, and I think they did a really good job with this. So I'm pour the rest in here. I use this glass, the North Park glass, because the first review from Stone Cold did Stone Cold's the Broken Skull IPA, and I reviewed it in a Tiku, which is like a fancy glass, and there's a lot of people who are like, Stone Cold would never drink out of a glass like that. That's too high class. And I'm like, all right, settle down. I'll drink it just in a regular ales and lagers glass from North Park. But anyway, yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 on Untapped. I'm going to raise it a little bit because I'm drinking out of Fresh Pale. I do like a little bit more. It's not mind-blowing, but it's really nice. So Steve Austin's Broken Skull, 316 IPA. I'm going to give this one somewhat of an oh hell yeah. As I'm going to give this a high 4 out of 5, go 4.05. I think it's really nice. I think they did a really good job with it. And honestly, a lot of times when craft breweries, try to put out a celebrity beer or like an athlete or some kind of pop culture beer, they usually do a really poor job with it, right? Like they don't do a great job. I feel El Segundo has done an absolutely fantastic job with this one. Also, on the other side, you got the 316, which I think is really cool as well. Get my stupid face out of the way so it zooms in. Yeah, I just got the big 316, which I think is really, really sweet. Anyway, I think El Segundo has done a fantastic job with this lineup. I hope they keep on busting out beers, and I hope Stone Cold still has say in it. Like he clearly does here. I hope like if he wants to do another IPA or maybe even a different style. He drank lagers for the vast majority of his wrestling career after he would, pound a Steve Weiser, so to speak. He would just be drinking whatever kind of light beer. But after he retired and whatnot, he really got into like Sierra Nevada Torpedo IPA and really liked IPA. So it's really cool that a brewery teamed up with them and they do a good job with it. Price point availability, I paid like $5 for that can. But at the brewery, I saw on their website, it's like $16 a 4-pack. You're probably going to pay, if it makes distros, $16, $18, $20 a 4-pack. That's the going rate for craft beer. So it is a bit pricey. So like I said, if you could buy a single of it, if you're new to craft bear or you're, like I said, a Stone Cold fan wanting to try his beer, definitely buy a single just to try it out before you go nuts buying like, a 4-pack or like an entire case of it or something. And availability, they have a website, brokenskullbeer.com. Check it out. It does show the availability and the distribution of his beers. See if they're in your neck of the woods. And then if it is, check and see if you can get it locally, especially if you're a wrestling fan that definitely wants to get your hands on this one. We got WrestleMania coming up. Hopefully Stone Cold's a part of it. There's some rumors that he might be. I don't know. Hopefully he shows up at WrestleMania. Wouldn't it be great if like The Rock got stunned at WrestleMania? Maybe Cena gets stunned. I think that would be fantastic. Post in the comment section if you've had this beer before, but also if you're a wrestling fan, your opinion on the John Cena turning heel, Stone Cold as a whole. Do you think Stone Cold's going to show up at WrestleMania? I like doing these reviews, not for only the beer, but for the back and forth. And in this case, you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, an icon when it comes to wrestling, drinking his beer, reviewing it. I'm sure you're watching it either because you follow the channel or you're a wrestling fan. If you're a combination of both, it's better for everyone involved. So yeah, really good beer. Check it out. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Oh, hell yeah. Cheers.